exactly
I've
what
got
the
a question for
formula
you,
was.
Richard. You volunteered this information on past episodes. So were you
correct.
with me crying like a bitch in this movie?
Welcome back to Foreplay. We're in the midst of our sports arc in the latter half now, and that'll mean we have 2 films left, Rudy and The Hustler, for next week. The Hustler, I would say, for many people, a little bit outside the wheelhouse of traditional sports films, considering it's about pool, and not really professional pool, but pool hall hustling and gambling at that. But great movie. You guys will enjoy it. Paul Newman, spectacular in it. But first today, we will be discussing Rudy.
I have a thing to say at the beginning, and you should actually have done this, but it's okay. I'll pick up the slack. I don't think on this series we've actually mentioned so far that we have a merch store, and one of the things on there is you can buy the poster of the 90s action one that Atantalas made. One of the best ones. By the way, I hope in the future we do more of those, because when you sent me like the one for that one, it looks dope. Basically the one where it's Monty as like Ethan from Mission Impossible. I'm like Nicolas Cage's character, Castor Troy in Face Off, and then Richard's like technically Arnold dressed as the robot woman who goes 2 weeks in Total Recall. It's that baller one, so you can also buy that poster as well as like just elephant.
Yeah, of course I'd get that one.
Listen, I didn't choose that. I didn't get to choose.
You know? Very reminiscent of being stuck in a loop watching my fucking.
Can't lie, it does stroke my ego that he picked me to be like Castor Troy. I do think that character's fucking sick as well. Like, I could eat a pizza.
Yeah, also
hours.
he's probably just terrified. He probably just has to, every arc he just has to make Thorin the best.
Yeah, I noticed that. But you can also just get like normal merch stuff, like just the logo on a mug. I just got that the other day. The plain T-shirt with the number on it 'cause it's a limited drop and all that. And also, we're going to expand this in the future if it's successful, right, Monty?
Yeah. This is just the first drop, guys, because we needed to get this online, get it operational, get it out there for people. The Founders Edition t-shirt is going to be a limited run, and that means everyone is going to be printed with a number on the sleeve. So obviously the sooner you order, the lower number you guys are going to get on that, and we will close that. We'll announce before we close it, just so you guys have a chance to put in your final orders. We also have been discussing with people about fixing some of the international shipping issues that you guys have had in terms of cost. So basically, our manufacturer is going to be implementing some new international shipping by June 26th, which should reduce costs on the shipping, because I know that's been an issue for you guys. So you're aware. We'll remind you again after the 26th of June. But yeah, we got the cool little poster of our 90s action art.
And if you're from the US and you order $60 or more, you get free shipping.
Yeah, if you're in the US, there's no problem right now. You can check as well to see if the shipping is going to be outrageously expensive to where you live. Be aware those shipping costs will be coming down. In fact, this episode will be released after June 26th, so it'll be fine at that point in time, actually. It'll be fine.
I was going to say, we record these so far in advance now. We can't even be certain we're even talking to anyone.
The store will still be open by that time, guys, so it's still good. You'll still be able to order the stuff. We've got...
Yep. Hello, future buyers.
We're recording this on June 12th, but realistically, this probably is not coming out till the middle of July. It'll be a little bit. Or early July, probably. But we do record in advance, which is why, guys, typically I record the ads myself the week that they go out, and then they get inserted. But this is great, too, because the store ain't going anywhere. It's lastfreenation.shop is the URL for you to check out. We got a few things up there. And we went through a lot to test the merchandise, make sure it was good, the quality of the shirts and joggers and everything like that. We went through several iterations of it. So we do try and give you guys nice products, and it does help support us very directly. So if you love us, that's a great way to do it. All right, let's talk about Rudy. So Thorin was the one who recommended Rudy for this arc. What do you like about Rudy, Thorin?
I mean, first of all, it's one of those ones where I guess it now has like a cult following, but I put it this way, Monty. I've seen loads of the films in this arc of like classic sports films. I mean, even films that aren't even as good, like The Mighty Ducks. And everyone's seen these films in the UK. This is one of those films no one ever told me about, man. I just discovered it one day in like the mid 2000s or something when I was just checking out movies back in the day. And I remember watching it and just being like, how is this not like as famous as like Forrest Gump or something, man? This is incredible. I think this is one of the best like inspirational original movie stories ever made. And the fact that it's like based on a true story, look, I've no doubt they took crazy fucking creative licenses.
Oh, they certainly
They
did.
must
We'll
have
get to
done.
that.
They must have done. But actually, it's funny enough, I was saying to you, Monty, I didn't actually know until recently, because there's one detail I hadn't looked up, that it's the same director as Hoosiers. And by the way, I'm going to say a lot of the same things about this film that I did about Hoosiers, which is, oh yeah, it's going to hit a lot of beats that actually seem quite obvious and maybe even seem cliched to you, but it's going to do it really well. Like, and this is the thing that I think about Cliché people always miss. I always give the example, the most cliched sentence any human ever can say is "I love you," because it's the most overused sentence ever. But I always say, if you as a result, if you're like some cynical modern person, you might go, what does it even mean saying "I love you"? But I tell you what, if you ever have the right person that you love say "I love you" to you, you'll realize it's not just a sentence anymore. The cliche just fades away, and it's like the phrase is brand new, and it has the same original impact on you can imagine it had on someone thousands of years ago. So similarly, even though when you watch this film, spoiler, this also has no postmodernism, it has no wry cynicism, it's not going to be some 500 Days of Summer.
I'm so bored of that
terrible
shit,
ending.
man.
Don't worry.
Correct.
Even though I will say, the one thing that is funny about it is, it does have a twist in the sense that if you don't actually know the story, you probably won't guess where it ends. You probably think it'd end differently. Like essentially what their version of success is might be different to what you imagine. But don't worry, it has a really awesome, really nice happy ending type payoff. And I think this is one of the best examples I've ever seen of a movie where it does do that thing where it puts you through the absolute ringer and as long as possible. This is some like tantric level shit. They're going to edge you like a motherfucker. So the payoff is crazy. But as a result, the payoff, like pretty swear boys, we don't care about spoilers. When you're hitting like that, they get at one point in time, so at the end of the movie, it's like every 15 minutes you get like a literal tearjerker, like the scene where all the kids come in and put their jerseys on the desk, or when the fucking black guy just looks like and then walks out. Like, mate, every one of these is just hitting you so hard when the brother takes his dad to the game, when like, oh, fucking everything. And also, I'll just say, one of the coolest things about this movie, I never picked up the first few times I watched it, because I watched this movie a lot of times with it. It also has mad replay value. It's much like great films with twists that just work. The twist works because you get into it again. Is one of the things I think is actually coolest about this particular film is, fuck, where was I going with that? Wait there a second.
The twists and the replay value. Which you think is...
Oh, wait there a second. Let me think what the angle was. Wait there one sec. Oh, that's it. Is that when you watch the film the first time, you might just be thinking from Rudy's perspective. But one thing I didn't realize until the end of the film is, one of the genius like messages of the movie almost to me is that actually it wasn't just that like he succeeded in some crazy dream. It's that, first of all, every person in his life, you could even argue the people who were naysayers, on some level, like, contributed to his journey. So by the end, if you notice, he couldn't actually made it on his own. He had to have all these little people sort of give him a little leg up along the way. And the coolest thing is, at the end, he made all of their lives better in a little way as well. Like, that's one of the coolest things about it. It's not really just about his journey, like, the individual. It's about it is the cliche of the triumph of the human spirit. Because one thing I've actually noticed, maybe you guys can relate in esports, I've actually found this is the case in life when you try and go for a dream, is if you do it in an earnest way, and people can sense that you're not like full of shit or you're some cynical, when they know you're doing it because you really love it. Actually, this is real. This premise works in life. Other people who maybe, could be a dad, could be a worker, could be some guy in your community, someone who maybe didn't get the chance to follow their dream, will recognize that in you, and they'll give you a little hand, or they'll give you a tip, or they'll help you out in some little, the tiny, imperceivable way, perhaps, because that's like their way of contributing towards that. Because on some level, I think everyone, if you get into this movie, I think your spirit will just soar with this film. It's great.
Yeah. And I mean, look, obviously I haven't seen this in a long, long time. I think I saw this like when I was like a teenager.
Yeah, I
like,
hadn't seen this in a really long time too. So
it doesn't get that much hype, does
it?
It's not like you would think this would be like a Christmas movie or something. No one ever watches this.
Yeah, and like, you know, I had vague recollections, very slight vague recollections. Obviously, the journey the movie takes you on, it wasn't anything like I remembered, because what the great thing about this film is, unlike Hoosiers, right, which is obviously a good comparison because it's all done by the same people.
Yeah, same director, same writer, guys. It was David Anspaugh and Angelo Pizzo was the
I think
writer.
even the same guy doing the score, it was Jerry Goldsmith.
Well, the joke is, and also, if you notice, the coach at the end of this one was the asshole guy who wanted to coach at the beginning of Hoosiers. Just a random detail for you then. Just a crossover even.
Yeah, so, I mean, like, but like, in Hoosiers, at least they win a state championship. I mean, that is relatively small scale in terms of a story. This is about one person's obsession to play one play for one.
By the way,
not even play one play.
A meaningless play as well.
No. He didn't even want to play one play. He wanted to dress and stand on the sidelines.
True.
Okay, he got to
he
play.
Didn't even think he would get in the game. He didn't. Yeah, exactly. He didn't even think he would get in the game. He just wanted to wear the uniform officially once as a substitute in one game, one time. That is so small of a dream. You can't really believe that anyone would sort of deny it to him. But obviously, when you're talking about Notre Dame in America, one of the greatest college football teams of all time, it is actually like there will be a very limited amount of people that even get to do that. And so obviously, it's not even necessarily tied to his own notions of glory. Because this guy is so fucking pure. Rudy is so pure. He's only doing it for his dad anyway. He's not even doing it really for him. Yeah. He just wants to show his family that, like, I can get there, like, and we can all share in this memory. It's not even about his own self.
By the way, just so people know, don't worry though, I didn't lose my whole personality. I watched the whole film. I'm loving it. I'm there. I'm a kid cheering him on. Go, Rudy. But at the end, even I did turn cynical and just go, he wouldn't get a sack though, would he, on the play?
But he's who I am in real life. The thing is, in real life, he didn't.
No, they let him do it then, Monty. It was like that thing where American high schools, they let the Down syndrome kid hit 3-pointer.
I'm sure Richard will go through the thing, but he actually did get a sack on his one play. So it was ridiculous, but it really happened.
It's so implausible.
So what?
That really happened. Yes,
okay,
correct.
Well, anyway, what I think is so interesting about this is that because we're talking about the same group of people, right, who did this compared to Hoosiers, is for those of you who aren't American, the University of Notre Dame is also in Indiana, where Hoosiers took place.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Angelo Pizzo, the writer, is an Indiana native who grew up in Indiana. So he managed to write 2 sports screenplays about Indiana. But what I think is so interesting is that we talked a lot in Hoosiers about how really the subject of the movie is small town America and the texture of the community, whereas this is very much not about the texture of the community. It is about one man's single-minded ambition to live his dream at whatever cost possible, right? And so I thought it was just really interesting with the same group of people in essentially the same location that you're taking an extremely different approach to the subject and themes of your work, because it isn't about the history of the community. It isn't about the history of the high school program. It isn't about the legacy that it leaves. It's about one guy wanting to go to Notre Dame and dress for this game so badly, and his very personal and individual journey to get there. Whereas all of the high school players in Hoosiers, nobody really cared who they were or what they were doing. It wasn't even really about them in the end.
Yeah. And look, I mean, I think one of the things that works about this movie is ultimately it's a good comparison to the final movie in the arc. This is a very pure take on what obsession can look like. The Hustler being a very dark take on what obsession can look like. And ultimately, yeah, I mean, there is an element of this where it's like, you can't believe one guy worked this hard for something so minuscule, but it was everything to
like I
to
say,
this
mate,
dude.
if you told someone that the payoff at the beginning, Rich, is at the end he's going to get on the field 1 minute, 30 seconds in garbage time, you'd go, what? But they make you by the end. That feels like he's won the Olympics or something. It's crazy,
exactly.
All right, go get it, kid.
It is like that is his championship. That is, his big tournament.
Like, mate, I'll tell you something I forgot about this film as well, is how long it is. Bro, the first half could just be its own movie, just get into Notre Dame, and then you're like halfway through that point, like, holy fuck, how long is this film?
Well, it's another sports movie that has next to no sports actually in it.
I don't even tell people you don't have to like American football to like this at all.
Yeah.
And by the way, another one where this David
Ansper
guy just fucking loves his montages. He's so good at them, bro. He just, again, he does that whole thing of the seasons are changing from spring to summer. He just fucking kills them, bro. He's so good at doing that about this guy.
I will say, right from the moment the movie started, I could see exactly where the plot beats were going to be, but like I didn't care.
Bonvecchio to Snow for the touchdown! Irish win again! What a spaz. All right, Brad, we did it all right!
It was like, obviously he's a kid. They're all like, I knew I was in for a treat when they were like, spaz.
I love it.
Whatever,
I know.
Just like, that's like 30 seconds.
Bro, even that part, because I didn't, when I first watched this, understand American football, I also didn't understand how cynical that is. Right? In the beginning, even as children, when you can do whatever you want, they are only letting him rush the passer. Like, of all the roles, that's not your dream role in American football. You want to be the wide receiver or the quad. They don't even let him do that as kids. He's just...
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, he doesn't get to rush the passer. He's the centre.
Oh, no, he's the centre. Monty, he's the centre.
Yeah, he's the center in touch football, which if you played it as a kid, you basically, the rules for like children's football in America, if you are an elementary school child playing the game, is that you can't rush the quarterback until you count like 5 Mississippi or whatever, right?
Yeah,
and so being a lineman is completely pointless because you're not blocking. You're just standing there, which is very funny.
Yeah. So he's like, can I? And they're like, no, you absolutely can't. And then he gets to do it one time at the start, and because he's not successful at this thing, he never gets to do.
But also, it's a mirror for the end of the movie where he is rushing the passer in the end. I mean, there's all kinds of funny sports like football stuff here. The fact that they're making fun of him for being 5'0" and 100 and trying to play football at the collegiate level is very funny. The fact that he says at one point in time
every
that
time
he played
walks into Notre Dame and then you see the size of those guys compared to him. He looks like an actual hobbit, like he was in the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And they are like the cave troll. It's insane how big those guys are. Those big corn-fed motherfuckers.
There's this like funny little things. Like he says at one point in time that in high school he was playing cornerback, which is just hilarious for a short guy. So how would you even do that? How would you cover
when he said that? When he said that, I used to play quarterback at like the high school level. It was just like, could you even do that? It was just
So like you're saying, Richard, there's so many parts where you're going to see it, and there's not going to be. This isn't a David Lynch arc. You're not going to be. What did he mean by that? Like, for example, what I love as well is, even though again it's cliche, they nail it. Like, I'll give you an example. The way he wins over every football player. So like, the big guy. Hey, why are you going so hard in practice, man? It's like, hey, if I don't go so hard, you guys won't be prepared for the game. You can see the cogs turning.
Don't you understand, man? If you don't cool it out there, you're going to end up getting yourself killed.
If I cool it, I won't be helping you guys get ready for the next week's games. Got it?
I got it.
Yeah,
I even love the one where the Vince Vaughn guy's like an asshole. He's the one who makes the play for him at the end of the game. Like, even though, again, this could, by the way, it should have been like Hoosiers. If you fuck this up, it would become saccharine. It would actually ruin the vibe of the movie. But I feel like they never veer over that, even though they are totally pushing you to the absolute. This is like. On the one hand, it's not at all cynical. On the other hand, it is like Hallmark shit on steroids. It is crazy how the stakes are nuts. I mean, even the idea when you go back, that girl you would have married, she's married your brother now. It's like, how much worse are you going to make this for me? I'm just trying to get on the field one time.
Let's be clear, right? So, I mean, first of all, all he had was dyslexia, but his entire family and everyone who interacts with him treats him like he's so educated.
No, they treat him like he is Forrest Gump, bro. It's crazy, isn't it? I know. It seems like he's even, like, by the way, he's social. I know, but they're treating him like he's absolute.
No, but that's the thing as well. Like, clearly, because he helps his friend get a girlfriend, he's got like charisma 10, right? Yeah. He's maxed out charisma, but everyone just treats him like he's he's like an alien being, like he doesn't understand anything, and it's like that's just not a representation of where he's at. And it was like he even just slips it in like halfway through the movie. Oh, I did some tests, and it turns out I have dyslexia, and
look,
now I can like
again,
read and
if
do
this is the less obvious, the more subtle ghost baseball in this one, which is if you actually start thinking about this, it makes no sense. So, for example, here, just bear with me. So you're leading me to believe that a native of Indiana whose father loves Notre Dame football has never been to a Notre Dame football game before, can't hop in his car or a fucking bus and go to a Notre Dame football game?
He can watch it from his room. He explained that in the movie.
Yeah, he explained it in the movie, Monty. Don't question the rules.
I thought about you every second I was there. You would have loved it. You got to come over for a game, Dad. It's so exciting. You've never seen anything like it.
I watch the games here on my television. That's fine for me.
I know, but it's not the same thing.
Understand, Monty, you're almost nailing it. They're making it on some level, like to even attend the game, which by the way looks like it has like 80,000 people there. But
yeah, of course.
to even attend the game, they're making that seem like you're like part of like the fucking aristocracy or something, and then they're just like they can't even. Monty, the joke is his dad can't even dream of attending the game. He has to watch it on home TV.
I was going to say, don't question the rules of Ned Beatty's sort of spiritual poverty.
By the way, there's also a crazy example. Like, first of all, really bizarre connection. Why is Gene Hackman, Lex Luthor, in Hoosiers? Then now Otis, his fucking henchman, is the one in this one, because the actor who plays his dad is that stupid Otis character in Superman. But remember what a stupid slapstick character he is. Bro, he plays this one so straight, and he does a great job. Doesn't that guy? He only has a few scenes, but every scene he's in, you're fucking glued to him. He does a really good job.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's got to be said, like, the cast is fantastic.
Yeah, and also, this is the other, before you start, Richard, this is the other parallel I wanted to draw for Hoosiers, is the cast in this one is like literally everybody you know ever, whereas Hoosiers was
sometimes in their first films as well.
Including Vince Vaughn and Jon Favreau's first movies. So it was like, people, you're like, what the fuck? Why is this guy here? But it was also
just why you're bringing up Jon Favreau.
Yeah.
Just why you're bringing up Jon Favreau as well. I love how Jon Favreau is as fat in this as he is now, and he had that like he obviously. I'm going to tell you.
He also
exactly
only
what
plays
happened.
one character, but that
yes, correct.
And was also in charge of parts of Star Wars for reasons.
Yeah, he met Vince Vaughn right here on this movie. This is the first movie they did together. Okay. They became friends and obviously ended up doing Swingers like two years later or something. And in that time, Jon Favreau got really, really thin because Vince Vaughn is really, really thin and attractive. Obviously, Vince Vaughn helped him get his glow up, and then obviously then he discovered the Cuban sandwich and just became a massive fat motherfucker again. Which, by the way, I'm aware of the irony of me pointing this out. But I mean, he loved that sandwich so much he makes a movie about it. Perfect. But
anyway, so that's all I wanted to say is like it's interesting how in Hoosiers, none of those people went on to be famous. They weren't famous at the time, and in this, outside of Gene Hackman, obviously, and then in this one we get, it just feels like basically every role is filled by an actor you know or will know in the future.
I mean, the joke is even the person who plays the girlfriend when he's young is like that. Well, I don't forget her name, but she's been in a million movies, mate.
Lily Taylor?
Something like that. But you know what I'm on about. Like, she's been in 1 million movies.
Yeah, she did like Mystic Pizza, I think. If you remember that film. But I mean, look, the cast is fantastic. I mean, first of all, let's get the supporting cast out of the way and just talk about why these people are mega. So, just having the luxury of not having to use Ned Beatty a lot is already. I mean, because if you need a folksy dad character, well, who better, right? Like Ned Beatty is that guy, and I mean, he was in a way because he was so ubiquitous across cinema in America over this time, particularly. You know, we move out of the 70s into the 80s, into the 90s as he got older. You know, he basically became... He sort of is just essentially America's dad. Like, he's been in so many roles of that nature, where he always plays the kind of folksy, small-town, pure guy. But what I love about this movie is Ned Beatty actually gets this really, subversive scene, where it's like... Sean Astin, Rudy, is about to go off to Notre Dame, and he sits down at the bus stop with him, and you're like, oh, this is where he's going to give him an incredible pep talk, tell him he's proud. And he tells this, monologue about how his grandfather essentially ruined his own life by pursuing his dreams.
Chasing a stupid dream causes nothing but you and everyone around you heartache.
And he says, when you have an unrealistic dream, it just causes nothing but heartache.
You know what's funny,
everyone
Mitch,
around you.
At the time, I hadn't thought of this, but I just want to take that scene and then say to Monty, that scene is actually the antidote to the film Field of Dreams. But don't worry about that.
Yeah, correct.
If you think about it, it explodes the whole concept. But even about the idea of trying to be a farmer when you're not really one, you'll die. All I'm saying is, he just needed Kevin Costner's character needed Ned Beatty to appear.
Well, thank God, neither Rudy nor Kevin Costner. Ray Kinsella, listen to that nonsense.
Sure.
Yeah. Obviously, as well, we've already talked about Jon Favreau. Jon Favreau's great as the sort of chubby, chubby kid with no social skills.
Even the thing where this is one thing I love about this movie. It really doesn't have any resentment in it, even though it's about people who get I'll give you an example with that character, the Jon Favreau one. Right? They even make a gag early on that, of course, the only girl that'd be interested in him is ugly. No, that is someone who's looks matched to him. With that issue, he should be with. And by the way, as a result, he has a happy relationship with her. Similarly, when you have the scene
that's the great twist in it.
Yeah, when you have the scene with the groundskeeper, if this was in the modern day, they would ruin that scene because they'd make the scene hey man, you should just be lucky you can play because you're white. I couldn't play because I was. No, they have that guy explain. I thought it was because of the color of my skin, so I let the resentment get to me though, and that ate me, and that took away my age. What the fuck? These are just amazing life lessons, just fucking pointing to these characters. But it's not. That's not unrealistic. Their actual journeys are very believable.
I rode the bench for 2 years. Thought I wasn't being played because of my color. I got filled up with a lot of attitude, so I quit. Still not a week goes by, I don't regret it. And I guarantee a week won't go by in your life you won't regret walking out, letting them get the best of you.
By the way, I'm glad you brought up the fucking legendary Charles S. Dutton.
Oh, he kills it in this film, doesn't he? What a great performance.
By the way, people do not know who this guy is, and it blows me away because I love this man. So if you probably won't know of a TV show called Rock. It was on ROC. It was on in the early 90s on Fox. And basically, it was another one of these sitcoms that were aimed at black audiences. And so in the same way, it had, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, for example, it's super important cultural television because obviously what it did was it addressed, well, not only did it address financial imbalances between black communities across America, it creates this aspirational element on television because obviously it says, in the same way the Cosby Show did, it says, look, black people can, we can live in mansions, we can, be doctors and all this. There's a very interesting cultural schism happening in America at this time because you've got to push me, pull you in black culture in late 80s, early 90s America, and that is that this is when you have the emergence of gangster rap and other musical elements like this that are leaning into, look, we in the same spirit of the 70s blaxploitation, we will lean into criminal, we will commit crimes to get paid. Why the fuck shouldn't we? This is what it's about. We're going to glorify that lifestyle. That's what's happening musically, in the movies too. And it's that, like I say, that blaxploitation sentiment of we're gonna do it ourselves. We don't need anybody. We don't need the white man. We don't need we don't need handouts. We don't need any of that shit. We reject that premise. Fuck you. We're gonna do it for ourselves. It's why I love blaxploitation. There's some just crazy characters created for the American black mythology that stand the test of time. And obviously, musically, we all love, fucking hip-hop and hip-hop culture. But at the same time, over on television, what is happening is, because you can imagine that's a bit more of a prim and proper and austere world, what they're essentially creating is they create inspirational figures because that's going to go out into the culture, and it's super important for black identity in America. What Charles S. Dutton did was he was cast in this series, Rock, and that combines both worlds. It's a sitcom. There's one very famous episode almost everyone's seen if you know the thing, and it's basically a crack dealer moves into this nice neighborhood that Rock's in. And when I say nice neighborhood, I'm talking classic suburbia. It's not a mansion in Beverly Hills, right? It is classic suburbia. And basically, like, Rock takes on the fucking crack dealer. Like, 'cause he's about that shit. He's not going to let someone move in and ruin his neighborhood and ruin the community. And there's loads of episodes where it was like talking to things that were going on in the culture on this side of the aisle, but also how it could impact on it. And Charles S. Dutton, the main guy, he fucking crushes it. Yeah, like it's crazy how good it is, and like that Rock is a forgotten TV show is like actually quite sad. They also as well, there's like it was almost subversive in the way it presented stuff. There was like another episode where I believe one of the other black characters came out as gay, and Rock, the main character, had a problem with it. But it's his father, who's elderly, who turns around and goes, "Man, it's the 90s. What's wrong with you?" You know, and it's like it's so good. This TV show, like, seek it out. But anyway, so for many people in America, like Rock was like a fucking, you know, he's like a role model. And so if you know anything about Charles S. Dutton's life, he was convicted for manslaughter. He was in prison. That's how he got his start in acting. He went to an acting class. So in Rudy, to have him cast as the fucking vitriolic, bitter janitor / groundsman who's like actually getting a second shot because of like Rudy, that's fucking perfect casting. I mean, he crushes this film. Like, it's just crazy how good Charles S. Dutton is. And he's fucking great in everything. In A Time to Kill with Matthew McConaughey, he's the best thing about Alien 3.
I was going to say, he is the best thing about Alien 3.
A bad movie. Right?
A
bad movie. But this guy elevates any fucking material that is presented to him. He also has one of the most memorable cameos in The Sopranos. He's the police officer that gives Tony Soprano the speeding ticket, right, who Tony Soprano gets fired, and then he ends up working in Home Depot, and he still won't take money from Tony Soprano. He won't let him overpay for his goods. So this guy's amazing, and an actor more people need to know more about, because he was in this seminal TV show nobody's seen, which is crazy, and just a fantastic actor with a really cool life story. Like, he turned his life around to become a fantastic character actor. Perfect for this film, and you feel it in every
how
scene.
dope also is that scene where it's like, I don't know what you're talking about or whatever, when he's like, thanks for giving that key or whatever, where he lets him stay in that. Again, Correct. This film is just so, they play the notes so perfectly. It's such a great film.
Hey, Fortune, thanks for the blanket and the key.
No, I don't know nothing about it.
Well, then who put the key on the cot?
You hear what I just said?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, just literally, but also a very authentic interaction, because like obviously there is like a slight racial subtext here.
Well, it is the like magical black man who gives you the advice and all that, whatever that famous arcing trope in movies.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. The mystical inspirational black figure. I don't know the exact film where that started, but obviously it kind of jumps the shark by the time we're doing Will Smith's The Legend of Bagger Vance.
Sure.
You know.
Sure.
And obviously it's so ridiculous a trope.
Why did we pick that for the arc?
I know, why not, right?
That's so bad, that one.
Key and Peele have done sketches about that, where it's like there's two mystical black guys fighting over like a white businessman trying to give him his inspiration. But like the racial subtext is here. He can't acknowledge that he's given them the key because he could lose this job, and it's a very good job for him at this time in the world, in very white America. But that's it.
Particularly Indiana, by the way.
Yes, correct. Indiana, like as white as it gets, you know. And so obviously there's a very, very light touch there, and obviously when he gives the speech about how like he thought he was being held back because he was black, but he now acknowledges he just wasn't good enough. Which, by the way, that's a very risky topic to even walk up to the line to. This movie, in my opinion, it sticks the landing because it's quintessential to
think how long
their
they saved that as well. He
Yeah,
doesn't tell you that like 5 minutes in. They tell you that like almost at the end of his interaction with the character. They saved that one piece of information to change the whole fucking thing. It's sick.
Well,
I
because
think,
what
though,
you realize is, sorry, Money.
No, his character, when we talk about, well, first off, his name is Fortune, which is
look
kind of cheesy.
It's a trope.
It's a trope. They lean into it very heavily. But by the time they deliver that line, I mean, I do think it lands because they have already fleshed out this character so well and very subtly, like you say, by giving him the key for a place to sleep where he knows he's been sneaking in there anyway. Obviously he would realize that, where he gives him the job after being pestered. And when also, I think he probably delivers the most important speech of this movie, which is that he tells Rudy, when Rudy's so upset because the old coach he'd been working with for years, who gave him that promise, left right before in the final season. And then he has this new coach that now he has to convince to get him onto the sideline in a game. He says, like, Rudy's like, well, what, you know, basically, what has it all been for? And the guy's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You literally got a world-class education in pursuit of this dream. Are you insane that this is the thing that matters? You got everything here, and you have no idea what you've received.
You are so full of crap. You're 5 feet nothing, 100 and nothing, and you got hardly a speck of athletic ability. And you hung in with the best college football team in the land for 2 years. And you're also gonna walk out of here with a degree from the University of Notre Dame. In this lifetime, you don't have to prove nothing to nobody except yourself. And after what you've gone through, if you haven't done that by now, it ain't gonna never happen.
Also, coming from a black character at that time in America, like, that is obviously, you know, there he is working as a groundsman in what he considers to be a very good job, too good a job to risk. And he's saying, like, you know, essentially, I would have done anything for that education. But that's what's great about the reveal.
But didn't he get that education because he was a Notre Dame football player? That's the big, that's the plot hole here, which is that he also allegedly received that education because he was on the football team. So why is he the groundskeeper? Anyway,
I choose not to acknowledge that blind spot.
I mean, look,
we won't think about that.
it's what's great about the reveal, because what you realize is the reason he never watched a game is not because he feels resentment to his employers or he just can't be asked. It's actually because it's too painful, because he did play, he did have an opportunity to play for the team. And I love that about Turn. And I also think, just to come on the point on the plot hole, I think probably what's intimated there is, like, when his love of football unraveled, probably everything else did. And, you know, he's not just talking about, like, I threw away football. He probably, you know, is saying he threw away the educational opportunities as well, because he just tuned the fuck out because he wasn't going to get his dreams. And then in some cruel twist of fate, or indeed fortune, he now has to be there every day, you know.
No, but again, that should be cliched, Richard. Yeah, the idea that his job now is to prepare the field for others to take. No, but in a way that again works, doesn't it? And the fact that essentially, by the way, he's now at peace with that, and he isn't like bitter about that. It's more that he understands it's his own actions that could. That's again how beautifully handled this is.
I agree. I think what's so interesting is that in comparison to Rudy, remember that he actually did get to be on the sidelines. Sure. He got to the stage that Rudy is aspiring to, right? And he realizes, I was aspiring to play the game. And I think by seeing Rudy, whose dreams are lower than his own achievements in that realm, is inspiring to him as well, right?
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. I mean, you know, that's what I mean about just this film in general. The fact that it is like this insane inspirational movie, because it's not really about, like, it's not about the level of achievement. It is just simply about setting yourself a goal that seems impossible to you, and then following through on so many steps to get there, like an insane journey. I mean, think about all the things he does just to get this one fucking thing. It is crazy. And I guess that nicely brings us to Sean Astin. It's impossible to imagine anyone else in this role.
So mega.
He's perfect.
I mean, put it this way. I'd kind of forgotten. I don't want to say forgotten. I knew he was in this movie by the time he came out as Lord of the Rings. And obviously everybody, you know, everyone loves fucking Samwise Gamgee. You know,
in my opinion, he puts forth the best performance in Lord of the Rings. I think he's the best. Yeah. To be fair, not to say the other actors are bad, but they don't have the same depth of characterization, because a lot of the characters are interesting, but they're just kind of one note. Samwise has the most interesting character arc, and Sean Astin nails it. And I think he puts, if you look at the whole trilogy, he puts the best performance hands down.
He's good, but I will say the guy that gives me like the chills, as the kids say in that movie, it's all Viggo Mortensen for me.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, but like, you know, don't get me wrong, Sean Astin's up there carrying him at the end, all of that stuff. But anyway, like what I realized is now, having watched this movie again, Rudy essentially just is the audition for Samwise Gamgee. Like it's like it is crazy. He's so pure of heart, so unflappable.
I mean,
totally determined.
His entire career was remember he's the main character in the Goonies.
The Goonies.
He's the main character in Encino Man. Like his entire life is playing kind of losers. That's his whole job. Basically,
but losers,
losers
that don't know that. Yeah, lovable losers that don't know they're losers, that have like really like
earnest
drive,
yes,
desires.
They're great.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
But
yeah,
also
and so,
but I agree because with Samwise, he's there as a supporting character to Frodo. He knows he's not the main character in the quest for the One Ring. He's there to help, and in the same way, like this character is there to help other people. Basically, he's trying to achieve his own dreams, but he is always in relation to somebody else. He's in relation to D-Bob, Jon Favreau's character, trying to get him a girlfriend. He's in relation to the football team, like we discussed earlier, where he's the one who's playing hard in practice so that they can get the best practice to go out on the field. He's never, like, he's the main character of this movie, but he's not the main character of his own life, which is weird.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll also say as well, it's crazy to me that Sean Astin's career has the trajectory that it does. It's mad because it's like, it felt like all of his like child acting years, everything, it was all building up to Lord of the Rings, right? And obviously there's like 15 years between Lord of the Rings and Goonies, right? But then after that, like nothing, like no.
Well, to be fair,
big...
all of those Hobbit actors, basically, except for maybe Elijah Wood. I mean, basically anybody who was in a role, even a supporting role in Lord of the Rings, was going to be able to retire off the money they made from Lord of the Rings. So I think a lot of them didn't give a fuck.
I have no doubt his residuals are fucking crazy.
But
sure. I mean, but again, it's like what. He could still be that guy, even like he's probably in his fucking 50s now. But he could still be that guy. Like
he's 54.
He's still. There you go. Like, I mean, where's my movie where Sean Astin plays a lovable, schlubby, maybe slightly behind the curve, kind of like father of two?
By the way, he could just be the modern Ned Beatty role.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, perfect.
Queued up for you.
The baton has been passed.
Yeah, he could kill that role, couldn't he?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, like I know he's had like a couple of like small roles in.
I mean, he was in Stranger Things. He was a relatively large minor character in that show.
Yeah, but it's like, you know, come on, give this man some work. He's fucking mega. Like it's ridiculous. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. Like imagine being a key character in one of the best book to movie adaptations of all time, one of the most financially successful trilogies of all time, you know, like one of them. And by the way, for anyone that was of the right age, that was coming up, and you were in like your late teens, early 20s at the turn of the century, those movies just are your shit. Like it's like that's your Indiana Jones. You know what I mean? Like
I was a teenager when those came out, and obviously, like I spent a ton of time watching them in the theaters, watching the extended edition DVDs. They're a core part of my teenage years.
Bro, I remember. It's the only movie I've ever pre-booked tickets for ever. Right, like I was not missing fucking Lord of the Rings on the big screen. Are you mad? I remember being angry about Sean Connery not being cast as Gandalf because they teased that for ages. And you know, everyone was doing when it was announced years in advance. Like internet forums were all about like fantasy casting. Who would you have in this role? Who would you have in that role? Everyone was like, well, Sean Connery's got to be fucking, you know, he's just got to be. But of course, obviously, the Gandalf we got just is Gandalf now, canonically forever. You know.
Well, there's an interesting story behind that, Richard, because apparently I think he turned down that role because he didn't understand it.
Yeah, I heard that. Which is why I love his.
Which is why he did the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, because he was like, I don't understand this.
Oh,
either.
You're talking about Sean Connery.
Sean Connery,
right? Yeah, right.
Was it? I might be wrong about this, but he turned down a fantasy film casting because he didn't understand it. And then the next movie he didn't understand was the really terrible League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, which was his last film as an actor. And that movie is dog shit.
It's really bad. I mean, obviously, like, listen, put it this way. By the time Ian McKellen rocked up in his very first scene in The Shire, I was under no illusions. Like, this is my Gandalf, like 100%. But so that's kind of how it was. But like I said, Sean Astin being in that movie and then just doing nothing else is crazy to me. So
he turned down Gandalf. He was offered the role of Gandalf and he turned it down. Anyway,
let me put it this way. Here's the way I would frame it. If you watch this film, the guy who was Vince Vaughn's character could be in any movie now, and it's Vince Vaughn, and somehow Sean Astin, who steals the whole fucking movie, he's just some bit player who, like, Monty's like, he was in one season of Stranger Things. That's fucking what his career came to. Vince Vaughn didn't even have any lines in this movie.
I know. It's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy. It is crazy. But anyway.
And the joke being Jon Favreau's the one who's probably made the most money in all of Hollywood at this point in time of anyone in the movie. And he's literally just fat guy one in the film.
I know, yeah. Uncharismatic fat guy who gets into law school.
Now, if you were in one of the sports films from this arc, you might find yourself getting a little bit sweaty out there on the field, on the diamond, in the court. And so you probably could use Mando's newest product. And that is, of course, their deodorant plus sweat-controlled solid stick. It's double protection. You get the odor control you love from Mando, plus powerful sweat control. So this is a new product for them. It joins their other products, such as their standard solid stick deodorant, their cream tube deodorants, their body washes, their bar soaps, and of course, those deodorant wipes, which if you've been working out, playing a game, and you want to go to dinner, those deodorant wipes can be very helpful just to give you a nice cleansing before you head to your next activity. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, and 2 free products of your choice like a mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. As a special offer for our listeners, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack. Use code FOURPLAY, FOURPLAY, at shopmando.com, SHOPMANDO.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Mando's got you covered with deodorant plus sweat control. Say goodbye to sweat stains and hello to long-lasting freshness.
Oh, by the way, before I forget, I've actually got a cool story for you about what you were saying, Richard, about the fact that, like, even though this is like a mega inspirational story, the craziest part is the scale of his dream. Even though they're all telling him it's like unattainable, it's actually so incredibly small. Like, remember, it isn't even the final scene. It's just to ever dress and just not play a game of football, right? I actually can tell you from memory a really cool story along these lines, which is back in the day, at the end of the 2000s, early 2010s, was when everyone started to get websites, right? And believe it or not, Kobe Bryant had his own website back then. And because I was a fan, I used to read it. And he used to do a blog, but it wasn't often. He'd only do it wasn't even really a blog. It was more like his thoughts about something recently, right? And I remember he did one about this film. What happened was, in the era actually when Kobe had like a not very good Lakers team, they hadn't yet got back to the championship level, him and a teammate of his who wasn't that good went and saw this film. And he did a blog post where he basically said, and this is why it's cool, because think who Kobe Bryant was. Kobe Bryant himself, and this is already well into his career, said something like, because obviously he's famous for, people don't know, probably being like the most diligent practice player ever in sports history. Even he said when he watched this film, because obviously a central part is that this character doesn't have all the talent. He even said when I watched this film, something along the lines of like, I thought to myself, what would happen if I or all of us worked that hard for our dreams? And I remember thinking, bro, if Kobe's saying that, like, fucking hell, this movie hits. Like, because in this scenario, he shouldn't be able to identify with any of those people. He's at the fucking star of the team, you know. Yeah, he's doing all the hard work, but think about this, Monty. This is the most underrated thing in sports, in my opinion. This is why I love this movie and what it gets to. Oh, it's actually, here's the thing. The reason we can all immediately identify how cool is Kobe, practice, because he's also the best. He also wins the championship at the end and gets to have like the hero moment. He doesn't do all that just to get like garbage time. Like, how many people would give the same effort and give their whole life to get into just the game for 1 second? That's in the way that's sports. It's the idea of living your dream, not the idea you have to hit like society's dream expectation. Like the joke is for this guy, it is like winning the Super Bowl to just play play one time for one moment in front of his dad once. And then, by the way, the genius of this film is they don't even give you an addendum, a post-scene.
No,
Rudy, because they could never,
the Hoosiers.
There could never be a good line about what he does next. You don't want to see what he does after that. By the way, after that, the movie has to end. It has to just end on that note.
Yeah, correct. And exactly in the same way, Hoosiers is just like they've won the championship. Yes. There will be no epilogue. There will be no monologue from Gene Hackman. No. We won't see what they did in 50 years. You could only ruin it
at that point in time. Leave
exactly.
Leave it,
we just go. You do get the title crawl at the end, which is shit. That shouldn't be. It's probably the worst part of the movie, like where it goes like Rudy got a degree, but also his brothers did. It was like, boo! Don't need that. Don't need that. But I mean, ultimately, yeah. It's like, put it this way: this guy realized he struck gold with Hoosiers. Knew exactly. What
I've got a question for you, Richard. You volunteered this information on past episodes, so were you with me crying like a bitch in this movie? There are some tearjerkers in this one for me, mate.
This movie, the parts that got me were the shirts being put down when
that's
they put
a mega
down
one
the
in
jerseys. It. Yeah, because you realise how everyone loves Rudy.
The fact they're all doing it as well, I know.
Yeah, exactly. And then obviously just him getting on the field.
Everyone, Rudy, who's that, Mama? Who are they shouting for? It could be so cheesy, but it's so good. Yeah. It's so good, mate.
But like the bit where I was like, oh, am I gonna cry? It was definitely the jersey done.
It's dope.
That was the part. That was a good part. Now listen, I hate to do this to you, Duncan, right? Especially as I know you have a great fondness for this movie. But I don't know if you know, Joe Montana was in that fucking team. I know. Joe Montana. By the way, this is the level that Notre Dame team was on. Okay. Joe fucking Montana was in that team, right?
See, my joke would be he was the one person who wouldn't put his jersey on. Like, I'm not giving him some fucking scrub bench warmer. Like, I'm
no, but like Joe Montana famously ruined this movie, right? Like, so he when asked about it, because he was there when Rudy got on the field. He said there was no chanting.
Oh, what an asshole!
I know. Like, he literally gone and told the world
destroyed all the magic. I know. Why are you doing that, Joe?
Right, no, but get this. It gets worse, right? He says the crowd never chanted. The players never threw their jerseys. He did get on the field and he did make a sack and he got carried off after the game. But we did it ironically. It was like it was the. I know.
Fuck you, Joe Montana.
Yeah. He literally said the team pranksters picked him up for a joke, and that's how he got carried off.
I don't want it to be some like carry.
I know. Why would you ever tell anyone that publicly? Like, what a cunt. And so anyway, you're like, because think about the title crawl at the end where it's like no other player was ever carried off in Notre Dame, and he's like, we did it ironically, and it's like, oh, Joe, no man, don't do that. One of the greatest QBs of all time.
You know what, Joe? I always knew it was all fucking Bill Walsh and that defense. You fucking twat.
So yeah, I can't even believe he did it. So obviously,
it's
as well,
unnecessary. Why not just go along with it for one?
I know. Just please, like if you have to get it out, say it on your deathbed, Joe. You know what I mean? Take that one to the grave, maybe. Like, so wild he did that.
But to be fair, though, it does now make more sense, Richard, why he couldn't actually get in the team. We had Joe Montana in there, mate. Also, that's another thing actually about this movie that is quite cool. A lot of people might miss this detail. It's not that this guy could never ever have been on like a school sports team. He's trying to be on one of the most famous ones ever that every person in Indiana is trying to get onto. Yeah. It's not. He hasn't even picked like a bad Division III. You could get a chance.
If you're younger, you may not know about the caliber of the Notre Dame football team because a lot of this was in the 20th century. But for many decades, they were considered one of the premier programs. In fact, just this last year in the college football playoffs, one of the biggest storylines heading in is like, hey, is Notre Dame one of the best teams in the NCAA now, right? Are they back, as it were, because they had this really good run? But those spots that you guys are thinking of, like in modern terms, this would be the Alabama right, equivalent. So if you are younger,
Well,
perhaps you may
think of
not
all
know
of
the
things.
context.
You might not know the sport, but you've heard the famous, like he says, this movie win one for the Gipper, etc. That's all this team. Because it's why I said on that past episode for Hoosiers, Monty, that's the thing if you're European you can't vibe with, is that, like, as they show in this film, bro, they get more attendance at these regular season games than, like, an NFL team would. It's crazy. Like, that looks like the fucking Coliseum in Rome, Monty. It's just full. And by the way, what a great... I even love that detail. He can't even himself get a ticket to watch the fuckers play, never mind get on the field. They just torture you so much on this. He can't even beat a booster, which is a glorified fucking, like, fanboy. They won't even let him do that, for fuck's sake.
People may not know this, but the biggest stadiums in America are college football stadiums. They're not the NFL stadiums.
Yeah.
There are 100,000 person stadiums, and these are also many times in places that have large NFL teams. So sometimes in like Alabama, there's nothing there, but the Rose Bowl is in Los Angeles, and they have two teams now, and they've had teams in the past. So, I mean, the Rose Bowl and the LA Coliseum are where UCLA and USC play. Their home games. So they're huge.
Yeah.
Stadiums.
I mean, and that's another thing you have to praise the movie for in terms of like atmosphere. Obviously, the writer knows this world, and you get that sense because I've talked about this before. Obviously, we were living in Atlanta, like and on Techwood Drive is where the Turner Studios are. Every time there was a college game on, we would get trapped in the studio essentially. If we were like working at that time, it was impossible to get out, because there was just so many people on the road, so much traffic. You essentially had to leave on foot. And, obviously got to go to a college game. And I'd never seen anything like it. I couldn't believe it. I had people like just showing me, and everyone goes to this hot dog bar, and everyone does this, and this is like the little routine. And obviously at Notre Dame, the bit with it's perfect. It is like you're there. They've got the marching band and all of that. All the pageantry that comes with a college game is actually very realistic.
People might be confused about this, but what it does is it's just like when we watched Hoosiers. If you're not American, these college football games kind of knit the broader community together, because these universities, Notre Dame, some of these big universities will have 20,000, 30,000 active students. I don't know how many Notre Dame has in particular, but that's just every year they have that many students. Yeah. Now think about how many graduates these schools have, and think about how many graduates still live in the Indiana area or will come back for specific games. And so it's not only about
the movie, Monty, make it how that guy basically has to be the bench warmer because he's an alumni, like his family. It's like what you have to do. Yeah.
Yeah. And so
we haven't even talked about his story.
but the context of this is like you have tens of thousands of active students who many of them will come to these football games while they're students, and then you also have all the graduates, all the community people, and it really does knit all the generations together within a specific state or within a specific place. So these are really important, I think, American pastimes, and that's why these college football stadiums are so big, like at Michigan and stuff. Like these absolutely enormous stadiums that are among the very largest stadiums in the entire world. And they're old, too. I mean, many of them come from the early to mid-1900s, but they just have they have this aura about them now, and there's no need to replace them because they're just cement with seats, right? But it's part of the legacy of the locale and the legacy of the game. So these are really, I think, culturally important to America, and in many ways more important to society than the professional teams. And that may not be clear if you aren't familiar with that culture.
So a couple of things as well. Back to the movie. Even though this is a very pure movie, it does create an antagonist at the end. In the form of Dan Devine, the coach that just will play Rudy.
The guy from Hoosiers, like I say,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, they just make him an asshole right at the end.
I do love that twist though, where he gets.
Think about that, Monty. Exactly, like all the movie. Essentially movie. You could end the movie with the guy coach just going, "You'll get to play once," and after he does that, it's like almost the next scene. It's like it's been replaced in a shock.
I know.
But think about the setup of this film, because he starts bothering the previous coach before he's even a student at Notre Dame, where he barges into his office and says he's going to play for him. And remember me when I transferred. It takes him years to transfer, and then he starts playing with him.
This is when he does that. That guy does the most subtle sort of like, sure, see you later. Like, and then he's going, I've talked to him. I'm going to be on the team and everything. Then he comes to that practice, like, hey, coach. That guy's like, looks like, they make it so hard. This film, he's just skiing uphill the whole time, and the whole time.
That's the thing as well, though. It's like, right, you just have to understand, even by the end, right, because the coach goes, you know what, I wish I could put your heart in the rest of the squad, and we'd have the ultimate team. But I tell you what, you're gonna dress.
Which, by the way,
you're gonna dress.
When you initially hear that, you're thinking, "Oh, it's cool." Yeah. He's basically giving you that speech that girl that you're simping for goes, "I wish all the guys were like you." Because I don't want to date you. You're a fucking loser reject. But if they were all like you, it'd be brilliant. He gives you that speech. He fucking fucks you off.
He gets football friend zoned. I know, right? Football friend zoned, right?
But I've kind of accepted the fact that God made certain people to be football players, and I'm not one of them.
I wish God would put your heart in some of my players' bodies.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's going to get on, he's going to dress, and then it's like you say, the next scene is just someone picking up a paper.
I know.
Been fired.
It's so good, isn't it? I know.
Fuck your life, Rudy. Fuck your dreams. Like, it's actually crazy. By the way, the movie's nearly done by that point.
But that's why, though, Richard, that's why the scene with the jerseys, it's so hard. That is, by the way, that scene is as good as I Am Spartacus. You know what I mean? Like, that is
it is.
Oh, wait,
exactly.
it's better in some ways. As we learned recently, maybe Spartacus not a very good movie. Turns out.
No, I'm not having the Spartacus slander. It's just like
you have to remember. Richard said it was better than Gladiator, Monty. So that's we've got to divide on that one.
We do. I'm not having the Spartacus slander, but I will say that was the best.
Richard still forgets about the comedy cross act at the end where.
Look, listen.
They're trying to have a comedy scene while he's dying on the cross.
I know.
Look,
I know. It's hard sell. I'll give you that.
Who doesn't want some mild slapstick comedy with their crucifixions? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, weirdo. But anyway, that is the best scene where they all put the jerseys down. Because what's interesting is that it's not explicitly stated until the other guy, the character you were just talking about, the one who's only there as a legacy. His dad basically played for Notre Dame, and so he sent him to Notre Dame, and he could have played on another good college football team, but instead he just doesn't get to play for Notre Dame because the quality's so good. And he explicitly does say at the end, I only continue to practice and work hard because of you. And obviously, you realise, like, Rudy just is this inspirational figure. I wanted to make this point, actually, again, about the authenticity of this movie that might be lost on a lot of people. I don't know how many people that watch our thing might have, like, played, like, college level, young level sports. But, like, there is one guy at the club. Like, when I played rugby, right, like, every rugby club I've ever been at has that one guy that actually isn't good enough to play, but, like, he comes to every practice, he fucking makes sure all the water bottles are full, he inflates all the rugby balls, you know what I mean? Like, every club has that guy, and that guy is always, like, good people, everyone loves him, and, eventually, like, maybe he will get a substitute appearance or whatever, maybe we will throw him in a game when we're, like, 40 points up or whatever. Like, that is a real character that exists at every fucking rugby club I ever played for, right? Like, and those guys, like, yeah, they do. They fucking make you raise your game. You want to fucking go and play there, and like, work hard because, like, look at this guy. This guy doesn't even get minutes.
Every team of hobbits has a Samwise Gamgee,
Correct. Like, you don't know how right it is because, like I say, I mean, I've met Rudies, right? Like, I've met a Rudy. I've seen, and it's like you do realize that, like, also as well within the context of your life, I'm not gonna be pro. I'm not gonna be pro. This guy doesn't even get to be where I am. Like, I'm having the glory of winning a rugby game on a Sunday. I'm having the glory of, we beat Hartlepool. You know what I mean? Something like that. Like, that's a big deal. But that guy's living vicariously through me, and this is like a very transitory part of my life. This isn't permanent. I'm not an athlete. I'm not a sports person. So it does imbue you with a sense of like, enjoy this while it's here. Like, it really does. And those guys, like I said, they're the staple of any club. Like, people will, if you know, you know. The real ones know what I'm talking about. And that's what I loved about this film as well. It actually took me back a little bit, reminded me of like all of those matches that we used to go to, the trips on the bus, like with all the lads, like coming back from a game, having won, sneaking cans of beer. We're not old enough to drink. We're drinking on the coach, bus driver at the front. You're not drinking beers back there, are you? No. All of that. It was like, this movie was so authentic and so pure. It will, if you've ever done anything like this in your life, it'll take you back there because it's just so believable. All of these characters, they might feel like tropes, they might feel like archetypes, but in the same way what we said about Hoosiers, it's just because they're real. This guy knows exactly the characters that exist in football clubs. And while Rudy might be a little bit far-fetched, you have to remember, the most far-fetched character in this fucking movie is the one that's real. He's the one whose story it is. He's the one who actually did these things, with the exception of what Joe Montana cruelly shot down for no reason in an interview with Barstool Sports. But, like I say, this movie's great. Oh, we also got to talk about that. The plot beats, like, come on, man. Like, this poor motherfucker. It's like he's got one friend who supports him, buys him that jacket he never takes off.
Dead
and he
instantly.
explodes.
Yeah, he's dead now, of course.
That
Dead
guy
now,
may as
of
well
course,
have put on a fucking red Star Wars away jersey right after he did that, man. Give me a break.
Yeah,
that's
correct.
coming immediately.
Yeah, exactly. He gives as soon as he gave him that
his
jacket,
days are
and
numbered
went,
immediately.
Yeah, and bro, he may as well have just shot himself in the head, like immediately.
Because by the way, I actually thought
he was dead.
The obvious tie-in to me, thematically here, Monty, is the fucking like story of Job. This guy is just like fucking persecuted the whole, and what gets him through is just his faith that somehow he's going to get there. By the way, when I say they put you through the ringer, think about how much effort just to get transferred to Notre Dame. Bro, they have about 3 montages of him not getting through the initial school, but you just have to learn how to read, as Richard says, basically.
Yeah,
But he can't do that.
That was all he had to do, really.
I know.
Nothing wrong with his brain. Nothing wrong.
By the way, there's another scene that also gets me, is when he goes back to that steel plant with it to show his dad that letter, and the dad finally sort of gives like a moment of like validation to it. Yeah, hey, my son just going to Notre Dame. Oh, that gets to me too.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good scene for sure.
You did it. Hey guys, my son's going to Notre Dame.
All right, Rudy, way to go.
Hey, you guys, my son's going to Notre Dame.
But
I think
sorry, go on.
there are some like depressing parts about Rudy's journey too, because as we alluded to, when
he breaks up with his long-term girlfriend at his best friend's funeral, Monty. It could, like, what are you talking about? That is one day in someone's life that would absolutely fucking level you, and Rudy just takes it on the fucking chin, bro. Like, that's mental. Like, yeah, there are some depressing scenes. Yeah,
what I think is sad is like he doesn't actually show a lot of awareness for his own position at any given point in time. And what's interesting to me is sometimes this is a blessing, such as when he's working his shit-ass job at the steel mill, right? His lack of awareness about his current life, because he's such a dreamer and he's always looking forward, helps him achieve his goal. But the fact is that he's going to be a college man. And I think it's important to put into context that in the 70s when this happened, this isn't like the modern era where everybody went to college. Very few people went to college during this time period.
It's expensive as fuck too. Yeah.
Yeah. No, in the day it wasn't. It was much cheaper, relatively speaking. Like you could actually pay for it, but people just didn't have to do it because they would go to the steel mill job instead. And that was a good income, and you got in because of your dad and your family, your brothers worked there. I mean, this is very accurate, I think, in terms of that. And you'll have a good middle class life in your small town in Indiana working at that steel mill. But a few people, went to college, a minority. And to be a college man, to go from the steel mill to being a college man at that time is a big deal, even if he's just in this community college. And he's getting a good education. He's actually learning. He's overcoming his learning disability, as we find out. He's going the extra mile to get good grades because he's trying to help his friend get girls in exchange for tutoring from his friend who is from Notre Dame. So he can't, and like, he's never present in any of these moments. He's never present for his Notre Dame education. The only thing he cares about when he's in community college that we see is, oh, I'm going to get rejected or accepted in a Notre Dame. When he's at Notre Dame, he's only like, well, now I just need to be on the sidelines of this football team, right? He's really ignorant about what is happening in his day-to-day existence, and he has almost no gratitude for all of the things that are going on that are going well in his life, right?
I mean, put it this way: there is another, like, this is what's great about the movie and why it succeeds, because it does go right up to that line where, like Dutton says, there's like, if it could give you enough material to do a really cynical interpretation of it, because it's like you say, Rudy is like, bro, like, it's not gonna happen, man. Like, stop this. Like, you're memorizing like calls. Like, you're 25 and you're fucking obsessed with this.
Yeah, we didn't even get into that.
Team.
He starts college at 22 and then has to spend years in community college. So what? Like, seriously, is he like 28 by the time this movie ends? I think he is.
I don't know. Like a 30-year-old freshman. You know what I mean? Like, it's like fucking crazy. And it is like, there is an aspect to it where it's like the way he talks about Notre Dame, like, he knows all the coaches, knows all the players, knows all the legendary calls, all the speeches. Like, Rudy, stop this. Stop this. Like, there is an aspect to that. But
he's also
obviously
annoying.
You get... Yeah, I mean, also just barging into people's offices. I'm going to play for you one day. Oh, fuck off now. But the problem is the movie is too pure.
Yes.
You cannot get.
But it's so, Richard, the first area in real life this movie immediately just ends is the scene where he arrives and talks to the priest. He opens by going like, "I just came from my friend's funeral. I'm going to play for Notre Dame." It's like, mate, you're obviously experiencing shock and trauma. You know, we're going to send you back home to wherever you're from and work in the steel mill.
Well, there's a funnier beat before that because he thinks he wants to be a priest, which is also that's actually just funny.
By the way, another minor detail. I don't let this get to me, Monty. It's just one of those things like the sack thing where I go, would that happen? I did at one point, right? There is a point in this where he goes back to the church and talks to the same father, and he's saying about the idea of like, he's asking, like, essentially like, can God help me? Can you help me? Right? You know that scene where he does that. I'm not joking. If you go back in the script from memory, I swear he says this. That priest says something like, "It's a hell of a thing." Like, would a Catholic priest really use the phrase, "It's a hell of a thing"? Isn't that what? That's like one line that just slipped through the fucking editors, man. I don't know how that got in the script. Like, that feels like, really? I don't know about that, but okay.
Notre Dame doesn't accept senior transfers.
Well, did a hell of a job, kid. Chasing down your dream.
I don't care what kind of job I did. If it doesn't produce results, it doesn't mean anything.
I think you'll discover that it will.
By the way, though, also great casting, like classic fucking casting of that priest guy. He used to be like a priest or a cop in every fucking movie ever, I feel like. Look, it's so well cast, the movie in general, mate. Everyone does their part.
I mean, I was going to ask if, like, there's an interesting subtext about faith in there. You probably don't need to have a scene where a priest accidentally thinks he wants to join a seminary.
I know.
You probably don't need to include it, but it's probably there. For reasons. I mean, obviously, as well, in both this movie and Hoosiers, there's just this sort of adjacent... There's just because obviously they do this in football games, where, like, the priest will come out...
My favourite in this one...
Well, this is actually... I mean, to be fair, Notre Dame is literally a Catholic university, so it actually...
No, but in this one, Monty, the guy who comes and gives them the speech before the game at the end, this guy just phones it in. He's like, "Our Father..." The fuck? Yeah. Like, bro, you're supposed to be the Rudy of fucking priests. You're just like, all right, guys, I'm Jim. I'm a Father who art in heaven and Mary and all that. Yeah, I mean, frail guy.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
Notre Dame, our mother.
Pray for us.
Think about the similar scene in, like, Any Given Sunday when I love that priest that when he kills him. Yeah, he fucking crushes that shit. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, look, like, there's minor quibbles with this film in the same way with Hoosiers. Like, it's one of those. If
It doesn't matter, though. You don't think about them when it's happening. You're just on for the ride.
Correct.
By the way,
exactly.
even though, again, you're going to think it's about the end, this film has crazy replay value. I'm telling you, in a few years, you can go back and enjoy this all over again. It works. It works.
Yeah, it definitely does. And like Dutton says, this is like bizarrely, like almost does have a good festive feel to it in a way, because it's just that warm, nourishing comfort food film that you know typically you put on at Christmas. Watch this with all the family. There's no scene in this movie that's like too dark for a kid. I mean, they might get upset over Peter getting fucking explosorized in the fucking pressure cooker furnace that for some reason just goes through.
I still don't really know why he does that.
I just love how
you don't question it.
I love how it's like the next scene he gives him. He's like, "You could just follow your dreams, man," and then he immediately explodes.
Man. I love it.
Dead now, of course. It's too good. But like, obviously, dude, he does like a fucking triple spin when he comes up that fucking furnace as well. Like, it blows him to smithereens. He just fucking flies out. It's a borderline comedic. But anyway, you can watch this with a kid. There's no scene in this movie that's too dark for children. This is like a good, you know, like Universal would be the rating in the UK. It's a good movie. You sit down. There's even when he's getting them girls, there's nothing cynical or overtly sexual. There's nothing like that. You can just put this on and be like, you know, it's a good lesson for kids as well. You know, like, you know, follow your dreams, work hard. Who knows what can happen, but never give up. Life's gonna deal you a series of disappointments, and you can be like Rudy, except hopefully just better. Like, do it quicker than Rudy, please. Like, but you know.
Also, again, don't get too cynical, but like the entire movie's a lot shorter if basically they just know what dyslexia is in 1970.
Like, also, it's
because
just
that's what it says. He didn't have like fucking he wasn't like crippled from the waist down or something trying to make it American. He just couldn't read. That's all. Like,
he just had slight problems processing language, and that was that. Like,
that makes him like a leper in their world.
Yeah, I know. They're like, look, listen, all you're going to be able to do in your life is work in a steel mill. That's it. No, but it's like, hang on, I've had these tests and like everything looks normal. Steel mill, mate. That's just how they treated you then. Like, stop yapping. Get to the steel mill. No, but I'm better now. Like, shut up. So, and obviously, that is mind blowing to even think about that. Like, he was told he could never do anything in his life. He finally gets in and he's getting A's and B's. Like, what's happening? Like, all he had to do was do this one thing. So yeah, the movie would be shorter if they knew what dyslexia was. None of this matters within the context of this journey. This is just a really solid sports movie. And and look, we cheated a little bit with the sports arc because really all of these sports films aren't actually about sports. The sports is a very minor bit player.
It's a vehicle to deliver themes and the story.
Just like the arc is technically a way for us to crowbar whatever film we want to watch into whatever arc that vaguely would fit.
Don't tell them that. They choose. They choose. It's
going to be really. It's going to get a little bit on the nose, Richard, when we do our theology arc, and I pick 7. That's my
Hey, Dogma's coming out again.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, listen. Yeah. Weinstein got sent down again, didn't he? He's fucking. So you know. But yeah, so look, just to start putting a pin in it, this movie was great. I mean, great might be overselling it. It's like one of those movies where it's like, if you want to compare it to all the great movies of all time, it probably isn't going to crack the top 100 or anything like that. But as a genre staple, this is where the movie's really, really good. And there's not many sports movies that you're going to watch and you're going to know all of the plot beats going in. It's going to really telegraph a lot of the stuff. Like, you know he's going to break up with his girl. You know his mate's going to die. You know he's going to get there in the end, ultimately. Because otherwise the movie would be horrible. It would suck if at the end it was just like Sean Astin going back to the steel mill, like, just like, I wasted my life, Dad, you were right.
No, he got his degree and then he became Moonlight Graham from Field of Dreams.
Yeah. Exactly, but like but what this movie does well as a genre staple, it does probably better than most movies in this field. It gets right up to the line of saccharine, and then it rides that line for 2 hours without ever teetering over into that's too much. This is too cloying. This is too Hallmark. It really gets you there, and then it just keeps you there until delivering a very satisfying payoff, and it's in the same way that Hoosiers did. I might even argue as well, this might be, in terms of just having an ensemble cast that all deliver really well, this might be a better movie than Hoosiers for this, where ultimately that's carried by the auspices of Gene Hackman.
And they don't have as much development, as we said, for the characters. They're more bit players in the...
Yeah, and obviously all the players in this, they do get like moments and lines.
Everyone has a little arc, his brother, everyone does the groundskeeper, they all have...
The captain of the team, when they see, this is what set me up for fucking, during the jersey dump, because he goes, "You're the captain of the team. Start acting like it." And he goes, "I believe I am."
Great line.
Sir.
You're an All-American, and our captain act like it.
I believe I am.
By the way, that's the line when the script right, you go like...
Yeah.
Of course, he's killed it, mate. Fuck with that. Fuck around with that script.
So that was when I knew. I was like, fucking hell, no. He's right. He's right. He's a leader of men. So, obviously, the movie's just cool. And obviously, in terms of what it says about, like, the human journey, we're all cruising towards what are, in the grand scheme of the fucking universe, like, they're all minor dreams in the end. They're all silly. They're all ephemeral, but like it's what drives and defines humanity, the goals that we set ourselves and the journey to get there.
And I will point out that ultimately, sure, we all remember Joe Montana, and he did it through talent and being one of the greatest football quarterbacks of all time, and
seemingly an arsehole.
And seemingly an arsehole
in this film.
But I will say that more people know about this Rudy guy than probably most of, if not all of the other players on that football team outside of Joe Montana. And he didn't do shit. The only thing that he did was apparently follow his minor dreams, but those dreams ended up, and his pursuit of them ended up being more memorable than anything this great football team put on the field.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah, it's at the end of the day, if you're inspiring people like fucking Kobe Bryant, like, your story is mega. And as I said, it's one of those stories that ultimately, you can apply this to any. You could show this movie to anyone in any field, and it would speak to them. It's not a movie about football. It's a movie about when people tell you can't do something and something you really want to do. It's about how far are you willing to go, what sacrifices are you willing to make to get to the place you want to be. And look, when you think about like online grifter culture in 2025, all these fucking manosphere losers that are like telling people, very basic stuff like go to the gym and only eat meat and all of this stuff. Like, essentially, this is like a very wholesome version of the message that they all fucking universally peddle.
Well, but they make it sound so easy, whereas this correctly shows it as very hard and quite depressing a lot of the time with all the roadblocks that you end up encountering.
Oh.
I mean, I'll just add, just while we're wrapping it up as well, like, just when you think the disappointment has to be over, right? They do that bit with the fucking his girlfriend, like, just having married his brother while he was away, and he finds out he goes back for Christmas. Like, he goes back for Christmas. Nobody's mentioned it to him. He just walks in.
So fucked
She's
up,
there. Yeah, and it's just like, wicked. This is great. My own brother.
And his fucking dickhead brother with that shit-eating grin, the other one who's just sort of like,
Frank,
relishing that you're the one. Because, by the way, there's another thing we didn't address either. They obviously make it clear, like, they literally say it about his brother, that his brother could have been like he was actually the successful one in the family. He should have been the talented one.
That's what
could
Peter,
have been
his
a player.
mate, says before he blows up.
Exactly. That's even a great line itself. And then his brother, essentially, is the main naysayer in his life, who's the one sort of like bringing him back down to reality and dragging him down and telling him you won't make it, etc. No, I think that's fucking sick.
Yeah. So look, obviously, like, this is a movie that will probably hit you different when you're younger and you've still got stuff ahead of you. But this was a feel good movie. This is like just good, nourishing for the soul, make you want to get your shit together kind of film. And Sean Astin's great in it. You know, if you love, by the way, if you haven't seen this movie and you love Lord of the Rings, bizarrely, you are going to love this film, like just instantly, because it's just a lovable shot. Oh, Sam! It basically, if Samwise Gamgee left the fucking Shire and went to join a football team, you can canonically make it a fucking sequel. Like when fucking Frodo goes off, this is what Samwise did, basically. So it's great. It's a really solid movie, and I understand why it's so beloved by so many people. Another movie, by the way, that was on that list of inspirational movies that we talked about for Hoosiers. Obviously, this guy, as I said, he just perfected the formula. So yeah, so this was great.
I unironically tell people this is in my top favourite films of all time, because I do think there's a difference between favourite and best. Like the joke is, maybe every Stanley Kubrick film's the best film ever, like technically, but to me, favourite is what do you resonate with? What would you, essentially, if I was locked in the desert island watching films, I'm sorry, I wouldn't pick like fucking Barry Lyndon or 2001 Space Odyssey. I would pick this, I would pick Clerks, I would pick films that Gladiator, ones that aren't always like the 10 out of 10 in every area, but something about them just works every time. In fact, like I said, the thing I think so dope about this is actually, if you've only watched it once, on the replay it all just works again. You'll be right back there, even though you know he's going to make it at the end. You're right back there on the fucking the tree of war, just suffering with this guy for 2 hours or whatever it is before he finally gets the payout at the end. Even in the game at the end, like you're like, look, he's already achieved his dream. No, because now we have to get him in the game, don't we? Like, coach, put Rudy in. Like, whatever, I'm busy trying to coach a fucking game. What
about Rudy? Come on, that is a rugby.
Coach, you gotta play him. You gotta play him, coach. Come on, coach. One play.
By the way, I don't even blame that coach at all whatsoever. Like, mate,
he's the new guy. His job's on the line.
Monty, I wasn't around in the rest of the movie. I'm a literal NFL coach or whatever, just trying to win at a top fucking division school. Like, you know what? You fuck off, you captain. Captain the team. I'll worry about the rest of it. Like, I don't even blame that guy. But even the joke is, even he smiles at the end when they all start cheering and when they do that special play. By the way, that's not even also addressed that they do like a bonkers Hail Mary play up 30, whatever, to like get him in the gear. Again, at that point in time, Richard, I would have accepted the Neo Matrix time.
No, we have to give the ball back.
All you have to do is take a knee. Exactly.
No, they had to get a touchdown, Monty, to get Rudy in the game. It was about getting Rudy
it's Vince Vaughn who gets smashed by like Rudy in one of the practice sessions. It's the last practice of the year, and he just wants to fucking phone it in and not get injured. And fucking Rudy's like,
Come on, what's your problem? What's your problem? Last practice of the season, and this asshole thinks it's the Super Bowl.
You just summed up your entire sorry career here in one sentence. If you had a tenth of the heart of Rudiger, you could have made All-American. As it is, you just went from the third team to the prep team. Go on, get out of here. Get me another tailback.
Okay, coach.
Yeah, like just running at him, like, and he's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And the coach drops him and demotes him at like the practice team because of that. He's the guy that defies the coach's order to fucking get to score, which he just does.
Which is
so they have like
itself,
8 seconds. Like again, you're 100% taking a knee every single time, but no, 8 seconds. They risk an interception, risk fucking losing the game or whatever, but no, just to get Rudy on the field for 8 seconds, and it's that character that does it. So this is what I mean. It's also as well as a meditation on how your actions affect and inspire others.
Like I say, he makes almost every character better by the end of it. Even his fucking brother at the end sort of like gets into it. It's like it's such a feel good.
His brother is such an arsehole to him the entire time, and yet he even says at the end, "I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this for Dad." Like Rudy's just like, I don't know what he was like in real life, but this guy basically goes like Jesus, then like Rudy. Like in terms of just like how not selfish can a person be? Well, I died for all of humanity's sins, and then it's Rudy. So like that's.
And I'm doing this for you, my family, who has quashed my dreams and treated me like shit this whole time.
You've told me I'm stupid because I have like mild dyslexia.
You make fun of my athletic abilities.
Yeah, you
tell me my dreams are dumb.
You've been bullying me my whole life. Anyway, let me now dedicate my whole life to giving you one wholesome moment in yours. Like so, it's just crazy. But great film, loved it. Definitely, like next time I'm feeling like Christmassy in the same way that I've got a soft spot for It's a Wonderful Life and things like that. I could see this making it into the feel good, need a cry at Christmas rotation. Like absolutely, a wholesome cry, not a sad, lonely cry. To be clear, because no one needs those at Christmas. But yeah, this was really cool. Loved it.
Well, we're almost done. Next week, we will conclude our sports arc with the sad, lonely cry of the hustler, a very different take on the sports genre. Is it inspirational? You'll find out.